In 1980, NFL offenses treated linebackers as plodding run stoppers, and left tackles were paid like afterthoughts until a 22-year-old from Williamsburg, Virginia, named Lawrence Taylor, exploded onto the scene. By his rookie year, teams were doubling Taylor with guards and tight ends just to survive. Why did one player force the entire league to rewrite its playbooks and bankroll the blind side? The answer reveals how Lawrence Taylor revolutionized defense and changed football forever. Yapper NFL defenses at the start of the 1980s operated on assumptions that seemed unshakable. Linebackers were built to stop the run, not to chase quarterbacks. The average outside linebacker stood about 6'1" and weighed 225 pounds, solid but rarely explosive. Their job was to read, react, and fill gaps, not to disrupt the backfield on every snap. Blitzes from the edge were a calculated risk, used sparingly and typically reserved for desperate moments. Offensive coordinators trusted that a single blocker, often a left tackle or a tight end, could handle any threat that came their way. In this era, left tackles were paid less than guards and centers, reflecting their status as routine run blockers rather than critical pass protectors. The quarterback's blind side was a vulnerability, but not a priority. Teams rarely built game plans around neutralizing a single defender, and the idea of a linebacker dictating offensive strategy was almost unthinkable. This world of rigid roles and predictable schemes left offenses exposed in ways they didn't yet recognize. Lawrence Taylor was born on February 4th, 1959 in Williamsburg, Virginia, a place far from the bright lights of the NFL. At Lafayette High School, his athleticism stood out in every sport he tried, but it was on the football field that his raw, fearless style began to take shape. By the time he reached the University of North Carolina, Taylor's approach to defense was impossible to ignore. As a senior in 1980, he racked up 16 sacks and 69 tackles, earning All-American honors and the title of a CC Player of the Year. Coaches and teammates described practices where Taylor's energy never faded, his competitiveness bordering on obsession. The NFL took notice. On April 28, 1981, the New York Giants made him the second overall pick in the draft. His first contract, 6 years, $1.35 million, with a $250,000 signing bonus, set a new standard for linebackers, reflecting a value rarely given to defenders. At 6'3" and 237 pounds, running a 4.5-second 40-yard dash, Taylor combined the speed of a safety with the strength of a lineman. He didn't fit any existing category. Instead, he forced the league to invent one. Opposing offenses were unprepared for what Lawrence Taylor brought to the field in 1981. In his rookie season, he racked up 133 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 8 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. Numbers that didn't just lead the Giants, but stunned the entire league. Every snap seemed to tilt the field in his favor. Taylor's speed off the edge forced quarterbacks into hurried throws and linemen into desperate holds. For the first time, a linebacker was dictating the flow of a professional football game. By season's end, Taylor was always named both Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, a feat no one had accomplished before. In the playoffs, San Francisco's Bill Walsh resorted to radical measures, assigning guard John Ayers and a tight end to block Taylor on every passing down. Even then, containment was a struggle. Giants defensive coordinator Bill Belichick would later call Taylor arguably the greatest player in football history. Taylor's arrival meant teams could no longer ignore the threat from the edge. The mismatch was obvious, and the league was running out of answers. Joe Gibbs, head coach of Washington, faced a problem he had never seen before. No matter how many blockers he assigned, Lawrence Taylor kept finding his way to the quarterback. After repeated failures to contain Taylor with traditional tight ends or running backs, Gibbs invented a new position, the H-back. This hybrid player, usually a mobile tight end like Clint Didier, lined up off the line of scrimmage and shifted in motion, always keeping Taylor in sight. The H-back's primary job was to help double-team Taylor, buying precious seconds for the quarterback. Teams across the league took notice. Suddenly, left tackle became the premium job on the offensive line, with salaries outpacing guards and centers for the first time. By the early 1990s, the average offensive lineman had grown to 6'4" and 300 pounds, nearly 50 pounds heavier than a decade earlier. General managers spent first-round picks and record contracts on anyone who could slow down the edge rush. As one analyst put it, today's left tackles have LT to thank for their high salaries. Game plans, once built around running backs and receivers, now started with one question: how do we survive Lawrence Taylor? NFL defensive coordinators watching Lawrence Taylor dismantle offensive schemes began searching for ways to replicate his impact. The Giants' 3-4 alignment with Taylor as a true rush linebacker became the template. Teams across the league shifted away from traditional 4-3 fronts, seeking players who could threaten off the edge with the same speed and violence. By the mid-1980s, the number of teams using the 3-4 defense more than doubled, and blitz rates climbed sharply. League averages jumped from about 12 to over 20 linebacker blitzes per game. Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, architects of the Giants' defense, gave Taylor unusual freedom, letting him choose his rush angles and disguise his intentions until the snap. Other coaches scrambled to find athletes who could mimic this unpredictability. Draft boards began to fill with college defensive ends and oversized linebackers who might fit the new mold. Names like Andre Tippett and Cornelius Bennett surfaced as teams hunted for their own version of Taylor. The edge rusher became a prized archetype, and blitz packages grew more elaborate, with linebackers attacking from every angle. What began as one man's anomaly quickly became the league's new standard for disruption. In 1986, Lawrence Taylor delivered a season that still stands as the benchmark for defensive greatness. He tore through offenses for 20.5 sacks and 105 tackles, numbers that forced the league to reconsider what a single defender could do. That year, Taylor claimed his third Defensive Player of the Year award and became only the second defensive player ever named league MVP. The Giants rode his relentless pressure all the way to a Super Bowl 21 victory, where Taylor's presence warped Denver's entire game plan. Even without a sack in the championship, his impact was everywhere, drawing double teams, forcing hurried throws, and freeing teammates to make crucial plays. But the most unforgettable moment came on November 18, 1985, when Taylor's blindside sack on Washington's Joe Theismann resulted in a career-ending leg injury. Instead of celebrating, Taylor immediately called for medical help, a rare glimpse of empathy amid the violence of the game. Sports Illustrated called his 1986 campaign one of the greatest defensive seasons ever recorded. In every way, Taylor's apex forced the NFL to confront a new reality. The defense could dominate, and one man could change everything. August 20th, 1988, brought a jarring headline. Lawrence Taylor was suspended for 30 days under the NFL's substance abuse policy. The league's most feared defender entered rehabilitation as questions swirled about his future. Critics wondered if his dominance could survive off-field turmoil, but Taylor's response was immediate and unforgettable. On October 23rd, just weeks after his return, he played the Saints with a torn pectoral muscle, recording 3 sacks and forcing a fumble. Pain didn't slow him. It fueled him. 2 years later, After a contract holdout, Taylor signed a 3-year, $5.5 million deal, a figure that reflected his value in every sense. In the 1991 NFC Championship, Taylor's forced turnovers against the 49ers launched the Giants to another Super Bowl. Teammates described the LT factor, the sense that no matter the chaos, everything was possible when he stepped into the huddle. January 2nd, 1993 brought an abrupt end to Lawrence Taylor's playing days. An Achilles tendon tear forced his retirement after 13 seasons, closing the book on a career that changed the league's DNA. His final totals, 132.5 official sacks, 1,088 tackles, 33 forced fumbles, and 9 interceptions, set a new standard for dominance at any position. Taylor's trophy case tells its own story. 10 Pro Bowls, 8 first-team All-Pro honors, 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 2 Super Bowl rings, and the 1986 NFL MVP. At his Hall of Fame induction in 1999, he told the crowd, "A Hall of Famer never quits. The crime is not getting back up." Today, analysts still rank Taylor as the greatest edge rusher in football history. In a 2024 Forbes interview, he described a quieter life, golfing most days, still loyal to the Giants. The game continues to measure greatness by the shadow he cast. In 1981, Lawrence Taylor's rookie season ended the Giants' 18-year playoff drought and forced NFL coaches to change how they built their teams. His 133 tackles and 9.5 sacks as a rookie, the double teams by guards and tight ends, and the birth of the H-back position all point to one fact: no defender had ever caused such immediate league-wide upheaval. Taylor's impact raised left tackle salaries, increased average offensive line size to 300 pounds by the 1990s, and made edge rushers central to defensive strategy. Yet even now, the full extent of his influence is debated. How many careers were altered by his presence, and how many innovations can be traced directly to his style? What is certain, every NFL snap today, from protection schemes to player contracts, carries echoes of Taylor's era. As his Hall of Fame biography states, he delivered one of the greatest defensive seasons ever recorded. The evidence leaves no doubt. Lawrence Taylor permanently changed the shape of football defense.